All right, what's going on, guys? It's Rest. In this video, I want to talk about how companion builds are going to work in Wonderlands. Now that Wonderlands is officially out and a lot of people are jumping into the game or about to jump into it, I know a lot of people do look forward to companion builds, and I wanted to kind of explain everything, go in depth, and talk about stuff you can do with them. So if you guys enjoy this, do find helpful, consider subscribing, and let's just jump right into this. So as you see on the screen right here, this is a skill tree calculator that I will link in the description. It is community made, but the first thing to note is the three choices that actually do have companions, and that is the Clawbringer, Graveborn, and Spore Warden. Clawbringer has a Wyvern companion, the Spore Warden has the Mushroom, and then the Graveborn has a Demi Leech. So you can have two flying companions, and there's one ground-based companion. Now, another thing to note is that on all these classes, any increase to the Fate Maker's damage also applies to their companion. So you don't have to always spec in to just companion damage. Obviously, that's probably going to be the best overall, but if you just have any increase to damage dealt on your character itself, it will also increase your companion damage. There are also stats like on rings that will just increase companion damage too, so be on the lookout for those. So getting into the classes and the interesting things that you can do with them, the Clawbringer is more so just a base buff your Wyvern up a lot. You have, increases the melee damage Wyvern, and they do bonus lightning damage. So now your Wyvern does more lightning damage. And then this one basically increases your Wyvern damage by giving it bonus fire damage. Then they also have their, game changer skill right here when they get a kill. And then depending on how you get that kill, you send out a elemental orb, which can be cool from your companion. And you also have firebolt, so your Wyvern's going to occasionally shoot out firebolts, which is cool. And you also have things like storm breath, so it occasionally shoots out lightning damage, then just a base damage increase to your Wyvern, and that is all specifically for the Wyvern. But as you see on the Clawbringer skill tree, it is basically just, let's take your Wyvern and give it a bunch of fire and lightning damage, which is good because obviously lightning can take shields off or wards off, and fire can do a lot of damage to flesh. So it makes your Wyvern really good, plus 20% damage increase, and this is a 5-point skill. I'm 99% sure. We can just check really quick. So this will make your Wyvern do 100% more damage. Yeah, 100% more companion damage, which is insane. Now this is specifically for the Wyvern, so if you do take another class like the Graveborn, your Demi Leech is not going to get the 100% damage. It is just for the Wyvern. So that is pretty much how the Clawbringer companion is going to work. So if I get into the Demi Leech or the Graveborn, this one is a little bit more interesting. It's not like straightforward your companion gets this stuff, right? Like you have to play into it a lot more, which can be very fun if you like that play style. So you have things like Faithful Thralls, so increases your damage dealt per companion, and you get more cooldown rate for your companion. So the respawn cooldown is 30 seconds, but if you have this at max, you're going to have 45% more cooldown rate, which is good. And then on top of that, you have the 9% damage dealt. Now you might be thinking, well, if you only have two companions, it's 18% more damage. But what's really cool on the Graveborn is that if you have like Hydras up, they also count as companions. Not only do they have a skill right here where when you get a kill, you have a chance to summon a Dark Hydra companion, that will also proc Faithful Thralls. And once you have 3 points in this, you can get 3 Hydras up at a time. So now you have 5 companions on the field, which is 45% increased damage, just like the cooldown rate. But it goes even further than that. It also increases it, like if you have a spell that is going to summon a Hydra, or a gun reload like a Meteor gun spawns a Hydra, those also count as companions. So you can see if you have all this stacked up, you can get a lot of damage dealt for your Graveborn. And again, remember, any increase to the Fate Maker's damage also applies to their companion. So this is not only increasing your damage, the more companions you have, more damage your companions are going to be doing. So you can take like this and Clawbringer and have your Wyvern have a bunch of this stuff and get down to Faithful Thralls and Dark Hydra right here to just try to get as many companions on the field as possible. And then your Wyvern is literally going to be able to destroy everything. Now, Graveborn also has skills like Harvest, so you get a kill, all your companions are going to do a bonus dark magic. So this is now going to make it whatever companion you take. All the companions I just talked about, they do bonus dark magic damage. So say you do take Clawbringer, now your Hydra does shock, incinerate, and dark magic, which is really cool. Now they also have Dread Covenant. This is just for survivability. Honestly, would not recommend taking this because you want to keep your Demi Leech alive as long as possible, but this is also a companion based skill. Honestly, I wouldn't recommend taking this if you're playing offensive companion builds. And then finally, they have Punishment. So when you cast a spell, Demi Leech can cast a Hellish Blast. That's its like spell thing. A second time, it's 20% chance. It's such a low chance, and it's only a 1 skill point thing. I honestly would not recommend taking it. But if you do get a bunch of companion damage stacked up, I can imagine Dim Leech actually doing a ton of damage. So maybe you want to invest in this. But honestly, just the first 3 skills right here on the Graveborn can just drastically increase companion based builds. Like don't sleep on these 3 combined, because you can do some crazy things. Now, getting into the Spore Warden, this is kind of more like the Clawbringer, where it's just pretty generic, straightforward bonuses. But you have things like Kindred Heart right here, so you get more companion health and more companion damage. So 45% companion health, 40% companion damage. That's pretty good. Like that's a pretty hefty amount of damage you're getting. If you remember, the Graveborn would get that, but you have to kind of work for it. But you could get a little bit more with their first skill. And you also have things like Spore Cloud, so your mushroom companion will occasionally let one rip, but it will taunt all the enemies, leaving a poison cloud. So this is pretty good for survivability. If you're in a pinch, it's going to taunt a lot of enemies. They'll run to it. Say you're playing Clawbringer, then your Wyvern and your Mushroom will kill them. Then they also have things like Bullseye, so you get 50% critical hit chance, then plus 50% companion critical hit chance. So now basically your companions are going to be critting half the time, which is obviously really good, because pretty much in any game, critical hit chance is like by far like the most thing to go for. It pretty much just drastically increases your damage, so that's really good. But then for survivability, you have medicinal mushroom. So basically your mushroom can just res you if you go and fight for your life, and if they do, it actually is going to increase your damage dealt for a small duration. But again, all damage dealt increases do apply to your companions, so this means that your companions are also going to get this damage. And the thing to note is that the mushroom has a 45-second cooldown, where the other 2 have 30 seconds. But then they have Thrill of the Hunt, so when you get a critical hit, which you're going to easily be doing if you do play Spore Warden, you're going to get more companion damage. And this effect can stack up to 10 times, and the amount of points you can put in it is 3. So you can have a 90% increase companion damage just by landing 10 critical hits, and that's honestly not that hard to do, especially when you have a skill that's literally increases your gun critical hit chance by 50%. And then finally, it's not really a companion based skill, but it does really work like it is a skill called Wrath of Nature. So whenever the Fate Maker deals ability damage to an enemy, the affected enemy is going to take increased damage from all sources. So this is actually really good. 54% increased damage. You can run something like Barrage, which has 3 charges, and pretty much all of the 7 arrows are going to hit everybody in the battlefield, and now everybody just takes 54% increased damage. Your companion is going to do 54% increased damage. It's insane. So now you have choices. If you want to run something like Clawbringer and Spore Warden, you're going to have just very good, like just straight up bunch of companion damage benefits. You can have your companion res you, your Wyvern is going to be able to destroy everything, your Mushroom can distract, you also have a bunch of debuffs if you take something like Wrath of Nature. Then you can also take things like Graveborn over here, and you can play really into Faithful Thralls to get as much companions up as possible, which is going to give you a lot more damage. So if you want a bajillion companions on the battlefield, play Graveborn. But if you really want to invest in the 2 that you have, I would definitely recommend Clawbringer, Spore Warden. I personally think that Clawbringer has probably the most fun companion build, due to the fact of you can just basically make your Wyvern do so much damage. But I do like Clawbringer and Graveborn, because you can make your Wyvern do Shock, Incinerate, and Dark Magic, which is really cool. This just depends on how you want to play it. And also another thing to note, that their capstones have pretty much nothing to do with companion based build, so don't even worry about trying to invest in the last skill. Be sure to get all the companion based skills. I would actually say that Graveborn is probably the most interesting for capstone, because when you cast a spell, but you can summon Dark Hydras, but it's not worth it. I would not recommend taking it. But really focus on your companion based skills, depending on how you want to play it. You can have 2 flying companions, you can have a ground based companion and a flying companion, however you want to do it. Personally, if you want my answer to what I'm probably going to do first, it's probably going to be Clawbringer and Spore Warden. I just like the base stats you get, and your Wyvern will be able to destroy a lot of stuff. But that's going to do it for this video. I hope this helped you out a lot if you were looking to make a companion based build. I know a lot of people are, It's just fun and comfy to just run around with a bunch of, little minions helping you out. And I think this actually can do some serious work once you farm a bunch of gear with some companion damage stat increases. But anyway, that's going to offer me. If you guys would like to see more Wonderlands content just like this, be sure to stick around the channel. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.